Welcome, everyone, to the latest edition of HeroesHype Live, the place where you, the community member, get involved in the ongoing discussions of all things about this new game, Hero Storm, that just came out. My name's Lauren. I am joined by the ever effervescent, amazing maybe Buzz, and a good old-fashioned Argy out here.
They don't make them like they used to.
They just don't make him like this guy anymore. They don't make
Nope.
him like
Nope. They don't exist. They literally don't exist. I've looked.
See? Argy, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Got done with work a few hours ago, and I just kind of chilled, ate some dinner, and watched some Twitch. I'm lazy.
I know that light.
Yep.
May be remiss not to ask how you are, fair lady.
I'm good. I've been playing a lot of Heroes this week and having fun. Did the Escape from Braxis, and that was kind of fun. And played D&D today, so I'm like high on geekiness. So I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I do D&D I'm a DM of like a group of like 9-year-olds. It's like Stranger Things, basically. They're ridiculous. Things, yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah, it's fun.
Again, like we said, guys, this is HeroesHype Live, a podcast / ongoing discussion. We try to differentiate ourselves by encouraging you guys to get involved in the conversation. Please say hello in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. The conversation is as organic as our audience. We try to get everyone involved. We have two big topics that we want to go over tonight. The support changes that currently reside on the PTR, followed up by the roster line, because all the teams have now been officially announced. A lot to discuss, to say the very least. I don't know if you guys had a chance to venture over to Reddit court, but
the court of Reddit.
A little bit.
But suffice to say, an opinion or 800 have been expressed regarding the recent changes. Now, guys, I want to approach this a different way, because I'm sure a lot of people had an immediate and visceral reaction one way or the other about these support changes. But I want to take us all on a journey here. You guys ready to go? Ready to go? All right.
Are we riding or walking on this journey?
We are on your ship of journey.
We're riding, and are you put your seatbelt on, man? Come on. I'll turn this car around. Buster.
Oh, it's a car. I thought it was a plane. I thought we were going fast.
I thought it was a boat. So
we gotta go fast, man. I got the Sonic emote. You thought we're on a boat. Ari thinks we're flying out.
So we're running then. Okay.
Yeah, we got the Flintstones car, and I want my Brontosaurus burger. But all right, let's go back to the rise of the double support meta. This was about what 3 months or so ago by now.
A little bit before the Western Clash, like midway through Phase 2, Part 1, I'd say.
There were rumors and rumblings of double support compositions making their way and stomping through scrims, and then over time you start to see it more and more show up in competitive play in HGC. Ari, what were your first impressions or thoughts on the idea of a double support meta?
Well, the first time we really saw it happening was in Europe, and then I watched it in person happen at the Western Clash. Like, Team Liquid ran it against Tempo, and I was just like, God, this is cancer. I hate it so much. Please go away. Because, I think it was they ran double support and a Zarya against them on Cursed Hollow, and it just sucked. It was just awful. And then if you remember the Warhead game with Freedom and Liquid, Game 5, that was, I think, double support also, and it was just but as Phase 2 Part 2 went on, they nerfed Ariel. They got rid of her 7W talent, which I think was huge, by the way. And then it kind of made it so double support, I was okay with it because I liked seeing how they combined supports. It wasn't just Ariel and something else every time. So, I didn't mind it as much. I still don't like it, and I'm happy it's going away.
Maybe.
No, it's
I think it's going through. Yeah.
But that's just from what I've seen and from who I've talked to. That's what's happening.
Okay.
Hopefully for me, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how the supports change and like who will be the top tier coming out of this, because I don't think it's Rhaegar anymore. Although like Wolfrun's still a really good talent, and so is Colossal Totem. It's just the big thing that needed to change was wave clear for supports. That was huge, and they did that. I'm interested to see how the healing nerf will go through. I think it might change. Like, they might boost the healing back up, but getting rid of that wave clear was one of the reasons double support was so prominent.
Do you think that there's kind of like two different perceptions of it, where it's like supports are weak, so you need two of them, versus like the supports are OP and that's why there's two of them? Because I think that there's like a disconnect between those two perceptions when it comes to like why is there double support.
I think it's supports are really, really strong.
Right.
They needed to get nerfed. Like, if you saw in the notes, I linked Kevin. If you guys don't know who that is, you should know who that is.
I heard he needs a girlfriend.
Not you guys, but like the chat. Like Rhaegar and Malfurion and even like Ariel to an extent could clear waves faster than assassins, which is a problem. Like when you as a support are clearing faster than a Gul'dan who is designed to clear waves, or a Azul who is designed to clear waves, then that's a problem.
Wait, supports are outpacing Zul in wave clear.
Yeah.
Ooh, Rhaegar?
Rhaegar with Lightning Bond can clear a wave faster than Zul'jin.
Oh,
yeah,
not
and
Zul'jin.
Cam.
Sorry, Zul. No, not Zul'jin. Zul. Sorry, I misspoke.
The Necromancer.
The Necromancer, yeah.
Well, like
Malfurion?
lane heroes, right? Like your specialists
Yeah.
and plus like the pressure from like camps that Rhaegar can do. What Rhaegar can camp at 5 by himself, which is like before most people can camp. So
like Malfurion with full Moonburn could 2-shot a wave.
Mm-hmm.
And like you could complete that quest really fast.
But is that like switching supports back to? I think that they like have walked this fine line, right? Where like they didn't want supports to only be heal bots, right? Mm-hmm. So they like gave him like this more versatility, like in lane, and so I think it's just like it's gonna be a constant readjusting until they find the levels where it's at. But I think that definitely like the double support meta, because it's so prevalent and because we're just like stuck in it, even as we've like added new heroes, I think that probably is like instigating a little bit of the change.
Jack, so what about Lucio and Anna? Such awesome wave clear. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, they're nerfing pretty much every healer's health and health regen, which I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But like they're nerfing Lucio's shield from his sound barrier by like 100 or 200 maybe. I don't know. I think they're not nerfing anything else about him, just those 3 things. So, I mean, we'll see basically what happens. Like it's on the PTR, and this PTR is going to last several weeks.
Is it?
So it's not like they're just it's an extended PTR because it's also doing all the structure changes and everything. So it's. Hanzo will come out, I think.
I'm a little salty about that because I want that zoom out. Are we getting the zoom out with Hanzo?
I don't know.
The zoom out with
You'll have
Hanzo.
to wait and see.
A what mount? A zoom
the zoom out. Zoom
out? The zoom out.
The camera.
Oh.
The camera.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out.
I thought it happened in this like most recent one, so I was like trying to mess with it, and I just kept like zooming in on myself, and it was really annoying when I was playing. But yeah, I guess that seems like one that shouldn't be too hard to get in, right?
Yeah. Jago Too Fat says, "Where's the outcry for nerfing Greymane and his 2 ability 1 second wave clear? He clears faster than Zul. Isn't that a problem?" I feel like specialists in large part are in a category called we don't know what to call these guys, so they're specialists.
Well,
so it's kind of
Greymane also does that once he's completed a 7 quest. Before that, Zul clears faster.
I'm okay with Greymane being like the same clear.
Like he's an assassin.
Yeah.
He should be able to kill things quickly.
Because they're things. It shouldn't matter what they are.
Because they're things.
But like, I don't know. Malfurion is okay. Like he should be able to do it, I think, a little bit faster than most supports, but not to the level of a specialist.
Okay.
You know?
I mean, I never want HOTS to be like how League is, like as a support in League, where like you literally do nothing but like put totems, like sight wards down. So, you know what I mean? Like I hate playing support in League because that's what you do. So,
I've played 2 games of Legend League, personally.
Legends of the League.
I want a zoo mount for my. Thanks for the warning, Cal. Ginger Trade. I mean, I'm really torn about the idea of the across the board nerf for the supports. I am curious though, May. You know, I asked Argy how he felt about the onset and rise of the double support meta and how it, how it's sustained. What were your initial thoughts? And you guys in the chat, I'm also curious to hear what you guys' first impressions on a double support meta was, because I think the reaction to that and the overall, appetite, understanding, acceptance to a degree while it was prevalent is really important to consider and factor in when we talk about how we change it and how we feel about the proposed changes on the PTR. So, May, I would ask you, how did you feel about the onset of the double support meta?
I think when it first started, I didn't think that it was going to be this thing that like we were stuck in across the board. I thought it was going to be like a thing that was used on certain maps for certain teams, like as a little bit of maybe not like a crutch, but like that it was like a specific comp. And as it just became this like thing, this style of play that like slowed the game down, I don't know. It almost evened out everything across teams because team fights went on longer, things got drawn on longer, like there wasn't these like super quick like core rushes that happened like unexpectedly, especially like with the EU teams that they would be able to be like to turn something on a dime and like capitalize on that and win. It changed that, and I don't know, I think the games got a little less exciting, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I'll definitely agree with that.
I fell asleep a couple of times.
Like even in the Gold Club games today, with like Roll 20, like one of those team fights lasted forever.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, all right, there's definitely a need for a response at some point from a balance perspective. For me, when the double support meta started happening, at first I thought it was kind of like this cheeky niche, like almost flash in the pan thing that wouldn't last for a while. But as you started to see more different combinations find the amount of success that they did, even after the Ariel losing that talent at level 7, you start to see such a wide variety of compositions that didn't lose anything by having 2 supports. Like conceptually, I feel like you want, if you're gonna go double supports, like all right, we're getting more sustain, but as a trade-off, we lose X. Be that wave clear, damage, or whatever. But there are so many support combinations to where it's like, okay, we're getting 2 burst responses to damage, and we lose nothing. Like
nothing.
We still have kill potential. We still have wave clear. We can still get camps. We can still apply pressure all over the map. We're still very competent in team fights. Only now we have ancestral healing and 7-sided strike, or it's like we have Twilight Dream. And
Divine Shield,
right? And you're not losing anything, and I think that's the biggest part for why there needed to be a change, and why it can initially feel jarring to players to be like, like, wow, they nerfed all the health bars, like all the healing. But when you pair these heroes together, a pretty clear picture gets painted that there isn't much of a negative trade-off as it sits right now on live to go double support.
Right.
Would you guys say that that's a fair assessment?
And I think that how you laid it out there too with like the ultimates, right? That it's like we're pairing like OP heal ultimates with like kind of OP damage ultimates too. and it's like there's too much like fight turning potential.
Crash,
Or, yeah.
Crash would say removing double support's fine, but I'm worried that things won't change. If you remove healing and survivability of supports, doesn't it mean you need two to have enough healing? Arky, thoughts?
I'm thinking about it. I don't think you'll need two. I think the point of this change is to get rid of the need for it. So like the game will go quicker. I think. I don't know. It's tough to really say without actually like seeing it in a competitive environment, because like in Hero League you can kind of do whatever, and it will work. But in a competitive setting, I don't think you'll need it. And you see teams that are really successful and they don't run it. Like Fnatic didn't run double support a lot at BlizzCon, and they still finished second. So, like, it's completely doable. They're nerfing everything by basically 5%. That should be completely fine. Like, I think double tank's going to stay, and Tassadar is always going to be a thing. So, like, that kind of double support will be around. But we're getting rid of the two full supports, and I think that's healthy for the game. I think going back to the single support, and you might have like a Tass or a Medivh protected, by the way, there, and that's fine. That's a legit composition.
That's always been around.
Yeah, but having two full-fledged supports and having that range flex player having to basically be a second support for your team, I don't know. It kind of brings the game excitement down. So going back to one support will make the game more exciting for both the players and the viewers as well.
Well,
so hopefully that answered the question.
I think it's a very complex and nuanced thing, and in a lot of ways, I feel like with these proposed changes, if they go to live tomorrow, Blizzard is in a lot of ways playing chicken with the community. And my reasoning for that is this. So if you nerf the health pools and the healing output by 5%, but you don't change the heroics themselves, like, yeah, Rhaegar loses wave clear. Malfurion, takes a knock on wave clear. But let's say you still take two complementary supports like Lucio, Uther. Someone has a lot of burst healing, someone has a lot of consistent healing. And both of them have, responses to burst damage. Sound barrier, divine shield. As it sits right now, if you take those two, let's say you take Uther instead of an assassin, what are you really losing to where it's like, all right, we're taking Uther at the cost of X? Because the answer in most cases is not that much, or at least not enough to where you're dissuaded from doing it. And I think what Blizzard's trying to do is get it to a place where if you do want to afford a composition that has Divine Shield and Sound Barrier available in a team fight, other aspects are going to be rough. Like, you're not going to have as meaty two supports because they're going to be squishier now. They're cute. They're, Uther's Q and whatnot. It's not going to have as much kick because we're nerfing it. So it's like, it becomes a gamble. If you can use Sound Barrier and Divine Shield to maximum value, then a double support composition still works. But if you don't do that well, I think they're trying to move it towards a place where that cost is going to be a bit more than it is right now. The idea that doing these nerfs means that a solo support is going to suffer now, it's very possible. And that's where I feel like Blizzard's playing chicken, because if it feels terrible as a support main to play solo Rhaegar because of the nerfs, then they're kind of solidifying the need for double support.
Yeah.
But I think that's just gonna be a matter of how the meta shifts.
It's definitely hard. It's one of the hardest things to balance, I think, healing, because you don't want them to be too strong, whereas like there's no way you can ever kill anything, and you don't want them to be too weak where you need to have multiple. And finding that balance of you need one to survive, but you don't need two. Or you need one to like just live,
Right.
but you don't need two to live. Something like that. I don't know. It's tough, and we'll find out pretty quickly. Like, and their numbers, like they can always be changed. It's not like the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. DJ Tigan in chat said, I think this is a really good point. In top tier play, absolutely agree. However, in lower leagues, double support is rarely played because it's a struggle to get anyone to play support in the first place. Now, I understand the game needs to be tuned to the top tier pro play, but this is going to make bronze through plat even more difficult to get anyone to even play one support.
Very true.
Yeah,
I think that's
which is what we're saying.
an important consideration to make. Crash Spill also makes a good point. Look, if support's no longer fun to play, I'm not playing it. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that fall into that category.
Like, since double support has been so popular, I have grown to really like Brightwing. Brightwing is really fun.
Murder Wing, yeah.
Murder Wing, yeah. I mean, they nerfed your Q damage a little bit. That cat just fell off the desk.
GG.
Cat's dead, by the way.
That's the definition of live right there.
Jeez.
Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh, Brightwing. They nerfed her phase shield a very small amount. If I find it, by 15. It's not very big at all. Like, that build especially is going to be just fine still. They nerfed Emerald wind damage a little bit, which honestly was really strong. But like Brightwing is still fine. Uther is going to be, I think, one of the higher end supports now. I think Lucy is going to be the best support.
Really?
Yeah. That's my overreaction.
Because the sound barrier value stays the same. He never had much wave clear to begin with, so you're not really trying to ride on.
You'll still see him a lot. The sound barrier is huge, especially against like heroes like Malthael and Lunara, even Gul'dan.
It makes sense too. Like if we're going back to like under like one support, like dive comp is going to be attractive to play.
Mm-hmm. And Lucio gives that with a speed boost. Post 16, his heal is still insane. It's 2.5% instead of 3%. And you can also go the other 16 talent. I think it's like up the frequency or something, where your auto attacks reduce the cooldown of your E, which is still pretty big. I don't know. I think the main thing that we'll see, if anything, is like going to different talents. Like, instead of Q build Uther, we'll go back to W build or something. So you can get more spread healing for Uther or something like that, you know?
Mm.
I think there will be adjustments, but I think we'll be fine.
Piano Uther, is that what you said?
Piano Uther might make a comeback. Probably not, but maybe.
Sad.
I mean, there's no protective shield anymore, so.
You raise an interesting point. You're like, Lucio is going to probably be the strongest support because, you know, while he loses health and general healing, his value, you know, hasn't necessarily changed. He's just a little more squishy. Doesn't bring as much to the table in its basic functionality. And I would compare that to like Rhaegar, who I feel a lot of his value and priority in the current meta is because he's a decent solo support, but he also provided a ton of wave clear. They straight up took that away from Rhaegar. And something that Blizzard talks about a lot is like the idea of a power pie, where, you know, if a hero is good at one thing, then they're not supposed to be good at a different thing. Like they're supposed to be a net amount of contribution one hero individually can make towards a game, and then they balance around that. When you just full on remove something as integral to the current meta as Lightning Bond, but you give him nothing else, like he's rolling Snake Eyes hard off of these PTR changes. And I think he's gonna go straight to the dumpster for it. Thoughts?
Rhaegar's still gonna be good. Unpopular opinion. I think Rhaegar is gonna be good. Yeah, like he won't be the top support. Like he won't be first pick. I think he'll still be a viable support. We'll go with that.
He has a good
he can
heal
still do
kit
camps.
still.
I'm not gonna say he won't
still
be viable.
Ancestral healing is still a big thing. He's one of the healers with cleanse. Healing word's a pretty powerful heal actually if it stays up for a while. Like his wave clear is still okay. It's not god tier. I think someone on Twitter was saying that he could clear a siege camp in like 15 seconds or something with lightning bond, and now it's like 30 seconds.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That's a change.
But that's like he's not supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like he's not supposed to be one of the best. I guess like Illidan still takes a while to do that. Greymane's probably the best one now. Mm-hmm. So and Greymane's still picked a lot.
It sounds to me like for you to say like he's still gonna be a strong support, and those are very compelling reasons. I'm not saying like he's a solid solo support when you look at him from a particular like just a keeping your team alive perspective. But so are you effectively saying that Rhaegar as he sits now in the live server is busted?
Yeah.
And then now it's just like justice is finally caught up to the dog? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
The dog had his day and it's over.
His bark was too loud. They put a muzzle on him.
That's fair. I just feel like they should give him something back.
Yeah.
Like
he still has his claws. Like
this might be my biased opinion. But I was always disheartened when they took self-ancestral healing away from him. Because he was one of the first characters I started playing when I first got into this new game, Hero Storm. Because I liked that he had healing capability, but he could also be offensive and aggressive on the front line. Without him being able to ancestral or cleanse himself, anytime he's up on that front line, he's asking to get rocked. Every time. So when you take one of the strongest reasons to pick him away, and like, I don't know, even if you got half the healing of an ancestral if you ancestraled yourself, 75%, something like that, something to add a little more spice and flavor to Rhaegar right now, because he's a heal bot. He gets a big slow at 16 for some lockdown. The slow outside of that, I don't think it's even really worth mentioning. I don't think it does enough. So he's just a heal bot. Whereas other supports are going to have things to do, like Morales can hit a bank shot, make a play, save the team, do everything else. Ariel can snap the whip, put somebody, body check someone on the wall, make a play. Malfurion can root somebody in place, set up the lockdown. Rhaegar stands back and is punished for using core parts of his kit and presses Q and R. I don't know, man.
I think there's also something to be said about that Rhaegar is like a really easy healer to pick up, that like there needs to be accessible heroes of every class that new players in this game can like, and new players to MOBAs can like enter the game and learn like the core mechanics. And I think that like Rhaegar is a good example of that, right? Because he has a little bit of everything, and like there's other healers that I think are far more complex to just like jump in and play, like like Ariel or Lucio or Ana. Could be really are harder heroes or people to just like understand. Rhaegar's pretty straightforward.
He is, but I think in competitive sense, in those with a certain measure of game knowledge, understood that Rhaegar was strong because he's a decent support, but he also brought wave clear to the table. Like that was his thing. To me, it was just like he can keep his team alive in a fight, but he brings something else to the table. You take the wave clear away, and he's a heal bot that runs around and is a direct and uncertain liability anytime he tries to be aggressive. And his kid is like half designed to be aggressive.
He still can brawl, but he can't
chomp.
He can brawl, but he can't team fight.
Yes and no.
In a competitive argue. Let's walk through a scenario, right? We're playing. It's 5v5. Everyone shows up, even talented. Let's say level 13. So Rhaegar takes his lightning shield. It's single support, single warrior, one specialist, two assassins on each team. It's generic and standard composition as it gets. If Rhaegar jumps in on the front line and lunges at the beginning of a team fight, you have two options. You either attack the tank with a high health pool who can then receive a cleanse and ancestral healing, or you attack the Rhaegar who can't do either of those things for themselves. You choose.
Okay. You go on the Rhaegar.
Exactly. Okay.
The tank, the Rhaegar's tank should be able to peel for him.
I wish you could see one. I'm just saying. So the best way to play Rhaegar at some of the most critical moments is to not be mounted at the beginning, to stand back, hit Q and R, and then maybe jump in at the end of the team fight to help secure a takedown.
It doesn't have to be at the end. Like, you can... To put this in, I think, good terms, you can bob and weave in and out. Like, you go in, you bite someone, you run back. Basically. You put their shield on them so they don't die. Or whoever's being attacked. You ancestral if you need to. And usually it's going to be on that melee assassin or that tank. Hopefully not a ranged carry. But, I don't know. It's making your play much... You have to be smart, basically.
Not everyone is smart.
Well, that's the problem.
See,
it's not the problem with Rhaegar, it's the problem with the player.
I look where you say smart, I say counterintuitive. Because he used to have focused attack, man. He used to have added damage at 13. Like, he was originally designed to be a frontline aggressive support. And they took all the bark out of the bite. Because if you try to play like that now, you're gonna get rocked.
Yeah, and he's definitely weaker than he used to be. But the removal of Lightning Bond did not change that.
No.
You know?
But that's my point. It was like, I could play Rhaegar and concede that I'm not necessarily a frontline support like I once was and would like to be. But I got wave clear. Like, I got other things to make up for that fact. But now that they've taken that away, it's just like I'm a heal bot that's like kind of helping with janitorial duty.
Sitting in the back. I get what you're saying, that it's like it's a dissonance from what the hero was originally designed to be. And that the gutting of the kit, or the gutting, he's been around for a long time. There's been a lot of changes as they've normalized him and normalized other healers, that there's like a dissonance of what our Rhaegar originally was. I get that.
If not Rhaegar, I guess all I'm saying is I would like for there to be a bruiser type of support.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's just the play style I miss playing.
I wonder if, like... Did they nerf his health?
They did, I believe. No, actually, no, they didn't. I don't think they did. He was one of
the so he's one of the few that didn't get nerfed. His basic attack did go down a little bit. I don't think the bite is a basic attack. I think that's a special attack.
I think I think you can blind it.
Yeah. Well, then I don't know. I don't remember. Honestly, I have to look.
Warshwatch said, "This is really one dimension. Did you watch BlizzCon Rhaegar's?" I did, sitting further in backline than any other support would. I think they play to the meta. Like, you can't just be. You got to play how the hero works. I'm talking about how I feel the hero should be. I just want to be on the front line, and I want to feel like I can ancestral myself. That's.
Knowing when you can go in and bite someone, even it doesn't have to be like to finish the kill. It can be, this is a critical point. I know the sound barrier is about to come out or something's about to come out. If this little damage right now can force that or get it in before it happens, then it's good. But I don't know. These changes, like all of the changes, I think up the skill cap. or at least the ceiling of supports.
That's good.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And,
Well, yeah.
Warspite also said, I'm not sure if Lunge was ever meant to be an opener. To an extent, I would disagree with that because at one point, Focus Attack was a talent in the game that was accented with the Lunge. And there was also a talent at 13 that you could take to further add that damage. Like, you used to hit somebody hard with a Lunge.
Yeah, used to
in the day.
chomp that.
Like, they used to feel it when you lunged in. I remember taking like a good 30% off somebody's health bar if I like lined all that up right. You had to kind of like play around hitting minions and stuff too. Like you had to make sure Focus Attack was off of its like cooldown or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it served as an opening. And then you just and then if they jump on you, you can ancestral healing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I again, a lot of that is just personal, my thoughts about Rhaegar, but it's just like if you're gonna keep kicking the dog and you're gonna shift his ideology and how he's supposed to play, sure, but he's just gonna feel like a weird heel bot to me now, with nothing else to show for.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I think in the next few weeks.
But yeah,
What
he's
happens?
Rhaegar's
call it
supposed
in
to
the
be
chat.
a wild cop. It's Tuesday, my dude. I'm gonna go.
Like one of those Kitsune gasms.
I'm in there.
I mean,
So the Rhaegar idea aside, general 5% reduction on health and healing output.
mhm.
We've talked about the idea, is this going to discourage or further encourage or perhaps even require a double support, since now like these supports aren't exactly what they used to be. May, do you think that's going to be the case? Do you think you're going to need double support now?
I actually think that the meta is going to stay pretty similar, and that it's still going to be double support.
Reasons, thoughts, why?
I just think that if it's going to change, it's going to be a slow change anyway, because everyone's used to playing the style, and they've been doing this for a few months now. And then also they built teams, right, based on the flex of being able to have that double support flex also. So I think that we're still stuck in it for a little bit. I think even with the nerfs, like people are going to be comfortable and are going to want that buffer of having like a little bit more healing. And I don't know, until we shift to something that's like super CC burst heavy, that double support won't matter. Then I think that we're stuck in it.
That's fair. That's fair. And to a lot of it, to a certain extent, I would agree. Because think about it. People took a lot of double support compositions to have 2 responses to burst damage. You know, sometimes you would play a more aggressive Karazim or something like that and have a main healer. But in a lot of instances, even from the competitive level down, you would have both defensive burst healing responses for the 2 supports, depending on the composition. And I think at the more casual level, that has created something of a crutch. It's like the assassin players used to have an ancestral healing and like something else there to keep them alive. They're used to having those options as heroics. To try to force a meta that takes one of those away, I think we're gonna see a lot of people that are disoriented, and then they may end up further clinging to that. But we'll see. Ghost Dunk said, let me put it this way: you lose 5% healing, but because you lose 5% damage, you lose both 5% hero damage and 5% siege damage, and I think that's an excellent point. With these nerfs as a solo support, you could potentially come away feeling like you're not impacting the game enough as a solo support. As it sits right now, Rhaegar on his own can jump in and get the lightning bond and have a say in who dies or not in a team fight. They can be aggressive. Certain Malfurions, I don't think the Malfurion attack like damage build has changed too much as far as like the broccoli doing damage. But there are instances where supports can do a meaningful amount of damage, and that's kind of what led to the problem of double support. But if you take all that away and just have one support, they're just there hitting Q. Is that fun?
No. No one wants to be a heal bot. Is the other side of it.
Black I said I had no problem with double support. I think people who did were all DPS players. I mean, it certainly in most instances could stagger or prolong a team fight. It could be unfun that way. Which kind of leads me to a question I have for you guys. And everyone in the chat can feel free to weigh in on this as well. Would it something like a form of diminishing returns on a system level been the better way to go? Where like you leave the supports as they are, but you just can't keep repeatedly healing someone back to 100% because like after a while they're gonna start seeing diminishing returns.
I think if they're going to bring diminishing returns in the game, that it's going to be something that's like CC minded. Healing diminishing returns is like, I think is hard because it's like some roles are going to take more damage. So like having diminishing returns on like a tank is like, oh my god, as like someone who like supports, like just like that would be hard to deal with.
If it was like Warcraft Arena, then I could see healing diminishing returns happening. But yeah, I think if anything happens with diminishing returns, it should be for CC. So you can't like just stun lock someone for 5 seconds and they can't do anything.
Okay. Devil's Atrocity said, what if they separated healers and supports and then only allowed teams to have one healer?
I don't think you can ever like
Blizzard
say
wants
you
to
can
be
only
able
have
to
one.
play. Yeah,
I
would lean
those,
away from
yeah.
the hard requirement of like, look, buddy, you've already got your one support. It would, in all honesty, it would probably fix a lot of things. But as far as it being plausible and something that would happen with as much flexibility and defy the norms of a MOBA, I don't see Blizzard ever imposing something like that.
Womack says double support has always been meta. How long has Task to Ronda been meta? I would argue that Task to Ronda is a comp versus being meta. Like I would say that that's like a specific comp that a team that has like that they want to run a specific comp against a specific comp on a certain map. That's like a Task to Ronda thing, right?
Well, I think they're more just categorizing Task and Tyrande as opposed to saying like putting them together all the time. We do see a lot of Task Tyrande outside of competitive, but I feel like maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but they see like Tyrande and Tassadar as an accent to a main support because we see a lot of
Tassadar a lot.
Yeah,
but that's just because that's how TAS works. And like I would say TAS is meta. I wouldn't ever call that double support because TAS is
a comp.
It's the comp would be TAS with whatever the hyper carry is.
Right.
See, I think it comes down to specificity because the problem, in my opinion, is double healer more so than double support. And even in Blizzard's article, they were like, we put heroes like Tassadar, Tyrande, and Medivh to the side. Like, they're more utility than, like, look, I'm just flat out keeping you alive like I'm Uther.
Right.
Tyrande can be run as solo support in very specific situations. Task can, at this point,
wouldn't do it.
They used to be able to with his permanent shields, but now you can't. Like if you remember, Fnatic did that a long time ago. It's not actually good to run them together. You'll see Tass a lot. He gets banned a lot. And you'll run it with like usually a tracer is what we see most of the time. And then Vala probably. Other than that, you don't really see Tass with a lot of things. Like you could do it with Sonya, the main thing that you pick tasks for if you don't pick a hyper carry is just the wave clear because you need it. But
well, looking through the chat, Poppin' Fresh is going on, man. I think diminishing returns becomes too much of a barrier of entry for new players. It's fair. That's fair.
It's a hard thing to manage.
Black Cat said the nice thing about double support was everyone on the team was eligible for healing in fights. If teams go single support, you can bet the tank gets all the love and nobody else. I think that becomes the awkward puzzle that is being an effective support player.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I'm curious to see where it all goes. Kind of rounding out the double support conversation. A question that I'd ask my lovely co-hosts and also you guys in the chat. If this change goes through, and the double support meta, as we know it, effectively is at an end, where you still every now and again see double support, but it's just like a nuanced, niche, situational thing and not the norm. What meta do you see replacing this? Like, what's the future of Heroes from a meta standpoint? I'll start with you.
I think we'll still see a lot of tasks, unless it gets banned. Which, at the beginning of this year, like it was always task Zarya bans, and I think we'll still see a bunch of task bans. If we see double support, it'll be something with Tassadar. But I think it's going to be double tank, double damage and a support, or some sort of like combo with a specialist, or it could be 3 assassins, but one of them is like a melee, like a Malthael or Ragnaros could see a comeback.
Ooh, spicy.
Or, we might even see a Gingerdrad Nazebo.
Oh,
No warning.
No warning. No, see, guys, this is what I'm talking about. I received no warning. See.
And I say that because
Man.
he was in
That
the meta
makes-
for a little bit of time, and then double support kind of came in, and like unless you get to 20, which honestly happens a good amount on certain maps, Nazebo doesn't really do anything against a double support comp. But now I think we'll be moving away, and Nazebo will come back. So hopefully, I'm giving you a warning now. Phase 1, Part 1 might have some good amount of Nazebo.
Okay. May
Oh.
we'll shift the question over to you. What meta do you see on the horizon should the double spec meta, as we know it, die?
I think we're going to like heavy CC dive comps, like Varian, just like Divey Butcher. Hopefully that never happens. That's like my worst nightmare. Like Butcher comps, things,
RNG
Greymane
blitz.
again.
I'm hoping and praying if dive comps become the norm, which is completely fine with me, that Tyrael is gonna come and like become the number 1 tank. Although ETC is probably gonna stay number 1 for a long time.
Tyrael again. Yeah, that's what I think is dive stuff.
Yeah.
Heavy tank.
Tyrael,
trip tank
Tyrael,
comps.
Genji, Greymane.
Tyrael
Trip
after
tanks.
he gets
My
like a
my
30%
favorite
mana
meta,
reduction.
my favorite composition is still Tyrael with a melee assassin and Greymane. If you remember back, I think it was spring of 2016, Thrall was in like the meta melee assassin.
Yeah.
And the best comp in the world was Tyrael, Greymane, Thrall. Because you just killed things instantly.
We'll argue out here. Okay. Looking in the chat, Crashboo says 2 tanks, bruiser, range damage, support.
Mhm.
Okay. Jack02 says triple warriors where things were moving.
I agree. I think that.
Okay. For me, at the competitive level, which will then ultimately start to filter down towards like Greymane master, like Grandmaster, master level, probably down to I'd say high gold. We're gonna see a game of chicken arise in drafts, to where if it's like, hey guys, no more double support, so I can go Genji. That means I can die if you got no responses, and you do that early. The other team goes, triple support or a triple warrior, and then Genji gets rocked anytime he tries to go in. Or the enemy team, the first pick shows a squishier comp, like they take a solo laner, another melee assassin and a ranged assassin in a 2-3. Then Genji shows up, or some kind of dive shows up in the back end, and it's like, wow, we're stuck with one warrior and like little peel for this dive, so we're gonna get rocked. And I think the moment a team either shows how squishy they're gonna be or how committed they are to a dive comp is gonna dictate when the avalanche of warriors either does or does not come in, and then one team is gonna get hosed in the draft. It's a little complex, but basically, if a team shows dive early on, the other team goes super NBA Jam meaty loser, or a team shows that they don't have the capability of going meaty, and then the other team goes heavy dive and have mercy on whatever squishy backliners you got on your team.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it also depends, right? What the rosters are and what teams play, because if rosters are looking like flexes or like assassin support flexes, that's a lot different than like a melee flex, tank flex, Mm-hmm. So learning new roles, learning new heroes.
DG saying it's a return of Earthquake and Bloodlust.
Oh my gosh, yes. Ooh, I love that combo. That's so hype.
Diablo with Earthquake, please. Just the R meta.
There we go. It depends on the game you want to play and map you can play with no support, says Woolman. What? 0 supports?
5 specialist comp, Tomb of the Spider Queen, let's go.
I
don't know about no supports. No tank is more viable.
I honestly could see 0 supports working if a team is skilled enough to get at least 2.5 kills off of their Arkeys. For the same principle of like, you don't need double support if you've killed them. Because it's like, if you trade that support slot for another amount of burst damage, and you guys position well enough to where the tank or tanks eat the brunt of the initial volley, and then your team comes in with a flame strike, a Kel'Thuzad burst, and like something else, and like you have an ETC to finish Prog Rock or something like that. I wouldn't say it'd be meta, but it might be able to work.
It's going to be the Wild West, definitely, I think, coming up soon.
Okay. Appreciate everyone's comments and thoughts on the idea of double support. I think as time goes on over the PTR, a lot's going to come back to light. I would honestly be surprised if what is on the PTR right now makes it to live, or if it does, that there'd be change coming down the road afterwards. But we're heading into a new chapter of this new game, Hero Storm. That's for sure. I would put this right up there with like the scaling change from like a year and a half ago, and the introduction of armor. As far as like things just are different now.
Speaking of things that are different, let's talk about those juicy roster changes that happened yesterday.
Look at that segue.
I like that. I'm cautiously optimistic about the upcoming rosters. I'm gonna pull them up real quick. Let's see.
Are we just doing
new
NA?
one?
Or are we
NA only. We did EU last week.
That's true. Yeah. We had a hell of a guest.
Because his EU was like all done last week.
Yeah. Right.
We had some late bloomers this week with NA.
Gale Force was the interesting one for me.
Roster lock.
Here, I'll link it in the chat.
Yeah. Could you do that?
so everyone can follow along with us. I'm on the NA teams. Oh no, the message was deleted.
See you, Crashbeer.
I'm not a mod.
Just send it to me on
wrecked.
Discord.
That article has all of the. Yeah, it's the same one.
Thanks, Argy. I'm not a mod.
I got you. So I know we talked about Tempo, but Gale Force is...
Udall is not retired.
Udall is back.
JK.
You thought he was done?
You thought it.
That video is great.
I mean, we thought he was done because he said he was done. It wasn't like it was like this rumor that everybody jumped on. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna transition us.
To be honest, I was under the impression that CAF and K1 were retiring. I'm happy that they're not. But that would be why Michael had to come back, because both CAF and K1 were leaving GFE. Maybe, I don't know. That would seem.
NA production. Maybe. I'm just switching it over. I
Um,
kind of want to go down. I kind of want to go down the list.
Go down the list.
Where are we?
We skipped Tempo, but Tempo.
We talked about Tempo.
Yeah, we talked about Tempo last week.
We did talk about Tempo last week. Some of the punchlines are, if that roster can get along and follow one train of thought, they stand to be one of the best teams of the region, if not the best.
Mm-hmm.
If they can be a team, they can be the best team in the region.
I think they're one of the top two teams if they work together well.
Oh yeah, argue you in any specific reason you think that in your Tempo Storm jersey?
Because I think Roll20 is also really scary.
Well, we'll get there.
We'll get to them, but yeah, Gale Force anyway.
So Tempo's there. I think if they can play as a team, and if Caterpillar fills the shoes of Fury, top two team.
Yep.
Gale Force.
So, Aka and Michael, we expect the same things. Michael is ranged for sure now. He's not melee. B-Kid is going to be the melee. I am so happy Biggie is on a really good team, because I have been watching Biggie since I think he was on Team Blaze.
A young lad.
A long time ago, and then he went to Panda Global because the whole team just swapped.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
Biggie is one of the most exciting players to watch in NA for me. I think he can do a lot of things, and then Fury's awesome. He's just an awesome guy. And he's fun to watch. You guys were at BlizzCon, so when you were watching him, you could hear him when he gets excited. And it's just, I don't know, he's one of the most fun players to watch for me. As a tank player, I love watching Fury.
I'm really hopeful for Gale Force Esports in his current lineup. I got a chance to really interact a lot with Fury over the course of BlizzCon. We spoke for a while, like a good hour and a half on one of the nights, and I'd already had a lot of respect for Fury. Told him as much. But getting to know him on a more personal level has made me appreciate him all the more. He's probably my favorite player in the HCC right now, to be completely honest.
Yeah. He's also... Go ahead. Sorry.
And I think he's going to do really well in this new Gale Force roster. Like you argue, I feel like Biggie, in a lot of ways, is underrated in the region. And I think he was kind of stuck on that roster. I always felt bad for anybody that ended up on what became Lag Force. I was like, man, there's some issues around. I don't know. It just always seemed tough. So I'm glad that Biggie's gonna be free of that. If we do shift towards a double warrior meta, I think Gale Force could be a top 3, maybe even top 2 team, because B-Kid's a really strong warrior. Him getting a little more bite, playing more aggressively as the melee offlaner. You throw him with a Diablo, and then you have Fury playing Garrosh or something like that. It's gonna be dirty, man.
I'm also really happy Fury's staying main tank. If you remember him playing that offlane role, he didn't ever look comfortable. And I think B-Kid, when he did swap with Zuna, looked a lot more comfortable.
Right.
in the offlane role, so I think that'll complement both of them.
Yeah.
And both of them know the tank role well, so they'll be able to. Both of them, I think they're gonna. I think Fury is the shot caller, from what I saw on Twitter. Like he didn't say it, but I think that's what's happening. Like he's taking on a bigger role, so I think he's going to be shot calling, which will be good.
Yeah. Laval said, "Is it sad I'm happy Lagif disbanded?" No.
They found teams for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that roster is all still around except for.
I Dream. I don't know what's happening with him. He's either going to be playing in open division or he's retiring. So,
who's coaching Old Gods?
No one's coaching Old Gods that I know of.
Might be Adrian. What?
Maybe.
We'll see.
Then yeah, we can get there, but yeah, I know they were like down to the wire on like tryouts. Yeah, Arrow was like trying out. They were doing they're scrimming till like 9 PST, like on nights quite often. Trying to get like the best combination because there was a lot of people that were open, you know, like I think there's a few people that like we didn't know who was actually going to be like where, especially with Old Gods. So
yeah, in my opinion, is going to be the on ramps to be on a team are going to be what's now Old Gods or Space Station, but we'll get to them. Sweet Wiener says I think Udall said he was shot calling on stream last night. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if he is, then that's good too, because I think he's a good shot caller.
Yeah, especially if
and he's done it
in an off lane
before. Yeah, if he's with that 4-man, like I hate going back to tempo again, but like that's why they had Cattle and Fury swap, is because Cattle's their shot caller, and that would help.
Yeah.
So I think Michael, if he's a shot caller, being in that 4-man will help him a lot instead of that solo lane. So,
see, I've never liked the idea of the shot caller being in the off lane. It just feels too detached. I don't think I could.
Yeah, because like you're having to swap back and forth, like, watching yourself so you're not dying, and then making calls for your team.
Yeah, that would be a struggle for me at least. If other people can do it, props to them, but it just seems awkward. Moving on to LFM Esports.
Formerly imported.
Formerly imported support. I think this is going to be the most interesting story to watch going into the HGC next year. Even more so than HeroesHype Esports, which we'll get to after them. LFM Esports entered the HGC because of the disbandment of Lag Force. Us here at HeroesHype know this team and roster very well. We've had a chance to see them in action a number of times over the course of the Open Division and in HeroesHype. And whereas last go round, Even in Death entered the HGC under curious circumstances. Now that the teams knew what they were playing for, I feel like teams played to that level. Like they wanted the second place spot because they knew what could potentially happen. It isn't a surprise. So I think that element of like, they kind of like whatever their way into the league, it doesn't hold water as much as it did for Even in Death. And on top of that, if you remember in the Open Division, import support, they were keeping up with HeroesHype Esports. They
beat them in the playoffs, like the winners match.
Yeah.
And then HeroesHype came back in the losers match and won. But that was also at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Yeah. Again, that's a whole nother issue. But anyway, like I wouldn't be disappointed with my performance.
And a lot of those guys have also played like in the pro circuit before. Like Imported was at PAX. Like they were a top 8 team.
Both Dreaded and FC, I think, were on that team. Figgy is FC Ignition, by the way. If anyone
I was going to ask. I was like,
I don't know why he changed his name to that ridiculous thing, but he did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming his name would have been too long for like LFM FC Ignition.
Well,
Figgy.
Why not just do FZ or even FZ?
I guess LFM FZ is probably.
I don't know. He's longer than FZ Ignition.
Well, he shortened it to Mike Udall.
Okay, fine.
And then Collusion is KZN.
Yeah.
Why not just do FZ?
Full Metal Jesus, I was going to said they won 1 set out of 5 against Heroes Hearth. I wouldn't read too much into that. Well, chronologically, I just feel like LFM were getting better each time, and they put up their biggest challenge in the playoffs. Like, yeah, over the cups, Heroes Hearth was just like walking in half asleep, stomping people. Like, it wasn't even close. But by the playoffs, I don't know, man. Full Metal. Here's my prediction. Old gods go into the Crucible before LFM.
You think so?
I say that with absolute conviction.
Mm-hmm.
If those two teams aren't in the Crucible, if one of them make it out, it's gonna be LFM. It'll be old gods and someone else before it's. I'll put it that way.
Shit.
Full Metal G's trying. He said old gods Crucible entrant
Number one.
entrant. I don't know, man.
I honestly am not confident enough to say a bottom 2. I could say a top 4 and a bottom 4. I'm much more confident with that.
Okay.
But
yeah.
I'd like to go through all of them before we rank them.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do that. Chrome Age 2003 said LFM, Donkeys, Numerics, Cynics, only teams take games off Heroes Hearth and Open Division. If I remember correctly, and LFM took a series. True. Very true. Okay. But yeah, I'm just saying, LFM, I was genuinely surprised like the Aware didn't make it onto another HGC team, but maybe they just all knew that LagF was going away, so they didn't even really try to.
I think they knew.
Yeah. So, but if they had to find teams to get into the HGC individually, the Aware is super underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna be crazy. Draded's another really strong player. Like they're all good. I'm not trying to take anything away, but I don't think they're anyone to sleep on. Full Metal. What about Stray?
We don't. No one's allowed to talk about Stray. That's the rule.
Aware's Ariel is actually one of the better ones, I think.
Yeah.
In the HGC.
My response, my answer to your question, Full Metal, is what about Stray?
Or where he belongs.
I mean, he put himself in that position. Like you could tell he stopped caring. Like he didn't for a couple of weeks.
He didn't show up to scrims for like a month.
He didn't talk in voice chat ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what drama there was or wasn't, Laval. But all I know is to play at a professional level, you got to act like a professional. You got to care enough to play at a professional level. And if you don't, for whatever reason, you're not gonna stick around.
And if we want people to take esports seriously too, it's the responsibility of the players to act like professional athletes. Also, yeah. I think
it's like if you don't want to play, if you don't want to be a pro anymore or whatever, that's fine. Like I'm not trying to knock Saray at all. I met him last year at BlizzCon. Cool dude. But if you don't put in the work to be a professional, you're just not gonna stay.
Team sport.
Heroes Hearth Esports. Arthalon, Crone, McIntyre, BBJ.
Du Bois.
I call them the past and future kings of heroes. Right as they formed. And there they are. What are you guys' thoughts on them?
I'm really happy my boys Isfru and BBJ are in.
I like BBJ and I love Crone Mac. I don't know if I'll ever be convinced that Arthalon isn't the same Arthalon, but I guess that's like what the next 6 months and a year are for, right? Is for him to not be like that.
Mm-hmm.
My feelings about Arthalon are hard to describe. Seems like a cool dude, all that. It just seems like he's one of those players that is so talented, he doesn't really see the value of putting in hard work.
Yeah,
like,
that
you
sucks.
You can see how he was kind of like yucking it up, like over the Open Division, and I get it. Like you're not taking your opponents that seriously because X, Y, and Z. But that's kind of the problem. It's like when is he gonna start caring enough to try hard and like put in the same effort? Because in my opinion, hard work is always gonna beat out talent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And true
And if you have
greatness-
both,
right, then that's true greatness. And Arthlon may always get far with just talent, but is it going to be far enough?
yeah.
And I don't know if
Yeah.
it is.
I remember, I think it was either the beginning of this year or sometime last year, like, he made a team with Urho to, like, try and qualify for something, and they didn't do very well. I mean, they got kind of far, but they ended up not qualifying. It must have been last year. So then he stopped again. And I think, to go with the meme, he's put in that extra hour of practice and actually cares, because to put 4 or 5 months into something, you have to, like, actually care. So
Yeah.
I want to say that he's actually putting in the work now.
I hope so. I mean,
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I want NA to be great again, and I think honestly that Arthlon, if Arthlon was like put in so much work and like wanted to be the number one team, like he's one of those players. And there's other players, right? And there's other players that are doing that. And I just think like I want NA to be like the superior region, so it's going to require the NA players to also want to be number one and not just be like okay with getting a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta agree. And granted, I'll say this: I've never had a personal one-on-one conversation with Arthlon. I don't know him past much of what anyone else has seen. His conduct and behavior in the game and things he said, like on Twitter or in Reddit court or whatever. It just seems like there's this general attitude of his to where he just doesn't really like care. Past like he. Very rarely do I think we see him put 100% effort in. When we do, he's a phenomenal player. But they're going to be going up against teams that all 5 players take it very seriously. And if there is any time for Arthlon to put that perhaps attitude, the perception aside, it's going to be going into this year because none of these teams are joking around.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Moving on, Space Station Gaming, very curious team. One of the first teams to make roster changes. They released Trees and Tiger JK early in the game. They did.
They did.
They did.
I think it was.
They weren't
early.
supposed to announce it, but
Yeah.
yeah, that happened.
I agree with the too early assessment. We've had Talking Trees. Along with other members of Space Station Gaming here on HeroesHype Live. I think Talking Trees hasn't really had his moment to shine. He hasn't really had that breakout moment like, Crowan's Li Yiming, or, he hasn't really been able to make a name for himself. Arguably, some could say he's had time. Like, he's been in HCC for a while now. And if he hasn't been able to, make a claim for himself, like to the effect of, like a Goku, something like that, or a Cure, then when will he? So I see the argument for why they would have released him. But my question for you guys, we'll start with you, man. The 2 oncoming changes, Jay Shrite and Tomster, do you think that is a net upgrade from releasing Tiger JK in Talking Trees?
Yes. And maybe not even necessarily from a technical play perspective, I think that team is going to be more like a team and is going to be on the same page, and I think is really driven and wants to succeed. Casanova, I think, is like a really great guy. I think he's like a really good example of like what players should like want to strive for as far as, what they're putting into the game. And I know that they take it really seriously. I think Equinox is, like a good player. I think that he's another one of those, like, we have some divas in HOTS, and I think that he's one of them. Like, lovingly said so, because I do love Equinox. But I like that roster. I think that that's an upgrade for that roster. I think that maybe what they're losing a little bit in, like, the norm and stability, I think that they're getting back in, like, people that really want to be there are gonna put in the hours, because I think like Jay Shrite is like one of the reasons that they took him is because they know he's gonna put in the hours and that he really wants this, and they want that mentality on that team.
Yep. I don't think many people have worked harder to try and get where he is.
And he's good. The other thing is he's good. Like, let's not take anything away from him. Like, the guy is good. His hero pool is insane, right? Like, he's a flex player. A lot of, like, the flexes, a lot of people that got dropped from the HGC, I think, in this, like, their hero pool was, like, a big reason. And so I think that, like, his hero pool is very, very good, and it's helpful.
See, Jay Shrite, he reads to me like one of those people that are committed like you read about.
Yeah.
Where we were talking about Arthlon perhaps not caring enough. Jay Shrite, like Black Cat said, is hungry like Jay Shrite left home. He moved to Canada to move to the NA region with the sole purpose and desire of joining the HGC, whether that meant by getting in an open, like joining a team like he ultimately did in Space Station Gaming, or if not through that means, by making an open division team. Like he comes across like someone willing to put in the work. And then when you consider that attitude paired with not a knock against the Red Canids at all, but it just felt like Jay Shrite was pulling that team to the global stage every international event. Like he was the star of the show because he's that good. So when you match talent with hard work and commitment, you got a recipe for greatness. Tomster is a question mark for me. You know, he's new to the support role. He really made a name for himself being a very strong melee assassin. So for him to go,
he was the Greymane god.
Right.
He used to be a support though. Like back in the day, Tomster was the support.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tomster used to support. Maybe I'm crazy. Back in the days of which we do not speak.
I don't remember him ever playing support.
Back in like the old days, like
times.
Like the King of Blade days, or am I wrong?
I thought that's when he was most prominent as a melee assassin back then.
He was like Thrall, Greymane. Those are his two signature heroes. At least that's what I remember. I don't know. Maybe in 2015 he was something else.
So my question mark for them is how well Tomster's going to do at support. I feel like Jason is pretty much the Swiss Army knife of the HGC. I've seen him excel at any hero he's put on. Casanova, charismatic guy, strong leadership qualities, excellent tank for the time he's been in the role. So I feel like this is a team that has, as a net result, benefited from these roster changes and are going to be on the rise. Kalara said, why Tomster over Iacona as a support? Well,
I don't know if I kind of tried out. I think that he was still... I think that Old Gods didn't know what they wanted to do yet. So maybe he was tied up there.
My initial thinking, and again, speculation. If Space Station Gaming knew about these upcoming support changes, that might be Iacona there over Tomster.
Maybe.
Because double support, like, you can afford to be a more aggressive support. And in that instance, who better than one of the most aggressively minded melee assassins this region's ever seen? Tomster. And Jason can play the support role. Jay Shrite listed himself as a potential support as well. So there is flexibility enough to excel with a double support. But now if we do shift back towards a meta that features one main support that has no damage or wave clear to speak of, because that's where the meta's headed, maybe Iacona would have had more of a chance at making that spot. But who knows?
Yeah.
Moving
on. That team was a mess, I think.
I'm interested to see. I think Tomster can definitely excel.
Yeah.
Like in whatever he does. I think he's like one of the higher end players in HTC.
The nicest guy too.
Yeah.
He's the nicest guy. It's crazy how nice that kid is.
And bear in mind, we're just speaking objectively. You know, these are no personal indictments on anybody.
No, I'm indicting that Tomster is a nice guy.
Oh,
I
okay,
accuse
okay,
you
okay,
of being a nice
okay,
guy,
okay,
Tomster.
okay. Team Freedom. Collusion, Zugrug, Nasmus, Lutano, and Yoda.
I don't know how I feel about this team. I was like a really big Team Freedom fangirl last season, because I'm a fan of like Collusion and Zugrug. But I mean, like losing Cure is really, it's a hard blow, I think, because Cure is top tier.
Same with Dansky.
Yeah.
I think getting Lutano is a big catch. I think he was the bright spot of even in death.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really sad that Yoda got dropped from Roll 20 after the midseason brawl because he performed so well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy he's going to be on a top tier team again.
I think
Nasmus is moving to melee, so Yoda's going to be a ranged flex.
You think Freedom's still a top 4 team?
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
We're almost there. We're almost there. We only have 2 teams.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I think the 2 pickups for Freedom are very logical. And if you think about it from an overall standpoint, not the biggest surprise. I feel like this is gonna be a team that for at least the first phase will lack an identity.
Yeah. I think they're the least flashiest changes of all of North America.
Like they're again, no insults meant by this. I just feel like they're like the Honda Civic of the HGC right now.
Team Freedom.
Yeah,
so they're really good. They're just not flashy.
But it lasts 16 years and it's old reliable, right?
Yeah, like
that's tough because I drive a Civic.
It's not a knock on the team at all. I'm just saying there's no flashy standout either play or personalities from these 5 players. I feel like Lutano could be it. I think in a lot of ways Lutano earned his spot on Team Freedom by being such a standout player during his time and even in death. In the off season, after that team fell off, he put in the work in Hero League and made a name for himself. Earned his spot, earned his tryouts. Definitely has star player potential. But when you look at Team Freedom, they don't have a fan that has like, a history like that. They don't have a Glowrung. They don't have a Cure. They're just 5 solid players. They don't have a front man. They don't have a lead guitarist.
Yeah. I get you there. I get that. That's a really good point.
I'm just curious to see where they go. But moving on. Roll20 Esports. Now, when I first saw this team lineup, I was concerned. I was really concerned because I thought they might also be like Civics in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But Cure is a player. Dansky's a player. Justing, in my humble opinion, top 2 warrior in the region. Bud's arguably the most underrated support in the region. Goku, playmaking potential.
Mm-hmm.
This is at least the top 3 team in my opinion.
I honestly think they're the best team in North America.
I love this team. I love Justin and Buds. I love like their synergy and watching that synergy. I think that Cure is like a really solid replacement for that sort of like showy that they need. And yeah, I just think that I cannot wait to watch more of like the Gold Club games.
Yeah.
To watch them play.
Sugar Hats in the chat said no one's gonna ruin a game with their ego. Oh no. That's fair. Tempo's got 3 lead guitarists. Also a fair point. For Roll20 Esports, when you do think about personalities and whatnot, huge fan of Glorong. Love the guy. Love the leadership and maturity he's displayed over the course of 2017. But conceptually, his personality is very outgoing, boisterous, obviously. One of my favorite moments of this year in Heroes Esports was when Roll20 qualified, made it out of group stage. Glorong jumps up and he's like, we won that game. Like, I love the guy. But Justin is this chill, relaxed, even-keeled dude. Ice in his veins. Just like the stoic, stalwart leader. And I think Cure and Dansky fit that idea more than Glorong did. If you just set aside like the level of play, because that's a whole different argument. But as far as temperament and team chemistry and cohesion, these feel to me like 5 human beings that will make a stronger team than the previous Roll20 roster. Agree?
Agree.
I agree, yeah. I agree. I think they're definitely better than they were before.
Okay.
Though they don't have as good a Chromie player anymore.
That's fair. Okay. Moving on. Last but not last but not least, the old gods. We've got Zuna, King Caffeine, K1 Pro, Erho, and Hosty.
It makes sense they're called the old gods, right? Because these players have been around. These are some of the OG Heroes of the Storm pros are on this team, right? Mm-hmm. Zuna, Calf, K1, Erho. Hosty's newer, right?
Yeah, he was Vox Nihili. He was on, and they were like they upset Gale Force. I think it was at a LAN, and that's where he got his name.
Okay, yeah.
I'm really interested to see how K1 does this support. That'll be the big thing to watch out for. That and Zuna is going to be ranged carry again, which is going to be awesome.
Erho is flexing support too, I believe.
I thought he was the off lane.
I thought he was off.
Yeah, Hosty's the Medivh, so I would assume he's also the second support.
I swear to God, Erho made a comment about like practicing Rhaegar, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, Rhaegar is special because I think melees can do that. Like Kier plays Rhaegar too.
Yeah.
Or he did on Freedom, so.
All right.
But if it's like Ariel is the second support, then I think Hosty will play it.
I'm not going to this.
No,
go.
No, go. I don't.
You go.
I would say I did not think that this is the team that was going to come out of Superstars, but Zuna was a big surprise for me. Actually, I thought Zuna was done. So when Zuna was announced, I was like, "What?" So it's an interesting one to be sure.
Zuna's going to make plays. He's, no joke, my favorite player and has been for a long time. And I really want him to do well. I really do. No Zuna feeds. It's time for Zuna to carry.
I'm going to say this, and I'm worried that this is going to be clipped, taken out of context, and I'm going to wind up on Reddit court. So I'm going to say this. My comments regarding this team are meant to be objective. It is of no personal attack or anything like that on any of these players. But you might hear me be the most savage I've ever arguably been when I describe this team. Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm clipping this.
I think that this roster, Old Gods, is dysfunctional, discombobulated, and stands to get rocked throughout the HGC. My reasoning for that is this. Some of the biggest concerns we've had about other teams were position changes, being able to keep up with the meta, and chemistry. This is a recipe for a team that's going to struggle with all three We've got K1 Pro playing support. We've got King Caffeine, who's been getting progressively weaker as a frontliner since Leoric got nerfed in early 2016.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Urho moving over to solo lane after playing tank. With Hosty just seems like this is not superstars anymore.
No, it's
like,
is not superstars.
There's no root to this team. This feels like a hodgepodge greatest hits collection of the HGC, just like this awkward off ramp of players who had nowhere else.
Who
had nowhere else to go.
Would it be wrong to say that this is the
team
where the team of like rejects, I guess?
I think they tried to spin that positively. I would say yes, but I feel like they try to spin that positively by calling themselves the old gods. They're admitting, they're understanding their overall place in the grand scheme of things. But
they should have spelled gods with AW.
This is a lot to overcome. King Caffeine has to find himself again as a strong frontliner. Zuna has to find himself as a ranged assassin. Can he do it? Does he have the ability? Do they all have the ability? Sure. Again, I'm not trying to knock the individual players. I'm just saying, as far as what teams need to do to be effective in HGC, old gods, they've got to work way more than the other teams, in my opinion. And if they don't, number one entrant into the Crucible, old gods. I'm concerned for what they do and what they're capable of. Because if they don't come together like the Mighty Ducks perfecting the Flying V, anything short of the annexation of Puerto Rico, this team is going to get uppercutted from game 1 to game 3 when they get 0-3 to every week.
Uppercutted like Sergeant Hammer and Zagara.
Now Zagara. It's going to be like, now old guys. And then every other team's like, uppercut.
I think they're definitely, low on the totem pole, and it's really hard to look at that roster and say like where they're going to be or how well they're going to perform.
Again, I'm not trying to be insulting. Savage, blunt, yes. Insulting, no. But this team has the most work to do out of all 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's my rant regarding the old guys. Prove me wrong.
You want to know the sad thing though is that they will get better scrims than Imported will get.
That's tough. I don't disagree, but that's tough.
I don't know about that actually.
I think so. I mean, it depends, and then it depends, right? Like maybe initially, but if you blow off scrims and you don't take it seriously, like then you don't get scrims.
Well,
and I think LFM is going to take it way more seriously.
I'll say this. LFM will at least get a consistent scrim partner in HeroesHype based on past relationships, and that could be the on ramp to other teams.
Because HeroesHype was getting HGC scrims all of this past year.
Yeah, but they're an HGC team, though. You know what I mean? Like you.
Well, I mean, like as Lauren said, that's building relationships. Like
yeah.
They're scrimming HeroesHype, so they'll be able to scrim other HGC teams.
Yeah.
Because if HeroesHype will scrim them, and if you know what I mean.
I don't know if any of these teams can necessarily afford to be as insular as they once were. I mean, the way these things are spread across the board enough now, in my opinion, that like there aren't the old pillars like what there used to be. Mm-hmm. Where there's
some people that are out, right? Like who's not on a team?
I think the big one is Cawthon.
I don't know.
Prismat's not on a team.
Yeah, Prismat.
We already talked about Stray.
Lord Death
Stray
said,
Kona.
Icon is not. Yeah.
Yeah. Lord Def said, "Remember early Bob Ross?" I do.
I can remember early bus.
Fewer
Pepper
fewer
Charm
things
remembers.
I remember. I mean, fewer things inspired me more than Bob Ross fan club's ability to blow up somebody in a team fight. Like, it was just inspiring.
Zuna and Fan were very scary together.
Yeah. Full Metal Jesus said, I think HTC teams are going to tee off on old guys with their experimental comps just to get the good vibes going.
For sure. Yeah, and you'll see it also, like, typically a team doesn't scrim a team that they're going to play that weekend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they definitely think
Full
about
Metal
it.
Jesus, would you say that the old guys are feeling like the Cleveland Browns of the HTC?
Oh no, they're not that bad.
Because I mean, like they're gonna use experimental comps on old guys. Do you mean in a scrim? Well, are you saying this in a scrim or like in the HGC capacity? Because if they show up on Saturday getting casted by Gillian Dredd, playing, oh, let's try this comp.
Let's play Butcher.
Vikings.
If you're talking about Tuesday evening on a scrim, we're talking about Sunday to qualify for the Western Clash. These are two different things.
Okay. Any given Sunday.
Okay. All right. Nay.
Top 4, bottom 4, yeah?
Okay.
Nay, let's, if you would, humor me or go along with me. Let's turn our attention to our good old-fashioned argue, because after all, they just don't make them like that anymore. Let's have Argy be our. Would you agree? Can we let Argy be our agreed upon topic, like ordering?
The voice of reason.
Yeah, because we're coming up on an hour and 40 minutes. I don't we try to keep it to 90 minutes, but this discussion has been interesting. So Argy, we're gonna use your opinion and expertise as someone who's seen the behind the scenes, has some of the We'll use you as our power rankings here. Are you ready for that?
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with number 1. Who do you feel is as it sits, top team of the region?
Roll 20.
Roll 20.
100%.
In 3 sentences or less, reasoning why.
They were already a top 2 team, the top team, okay. And all they did was upgrade.
All right.
And as you said, they Kieran Dansky kind of fit into the personalities of the other 3.
Yeah. Okay. I'm writing them down just because I don't have the memory like that.
For posterity.
So I put roll 20, only upgraded personalities. Okay. Number 2. Who's your number 2 team?
Tempo.
Okay. 3 sentences or less.
Cattle is going back to tank. June and Fan and Cattle and Glaurung they each live together. Okay. So the synergy is there for them. They're all friends.
Okay.
They like each other.
Okay.
And they're all individually incredibly talented players.
Okay. Fair reasoning. Completely fair reasoning. Not one to disagree. Number 3.
Gale Force.
3 sentences or less.
They upgraded a tank. With Fury.
Yep.
Biggie is an extremely strong assassin player. And Michael is going to be back in his comfort role.
All right. 3 sentences. There it is. Number 4.
Now, here's where it's going to get a little weird. I think Space Station will be number 4.
Oh.
3 sentences. We might need 4, but 3 sentences or less.
This one's tough. I think Space Station and Team Freedom are so close together. It's hard. But I am confident enough in Equinox's shot calling that they will, at least this is for this first split. So the part 1 going into the Western Clash. I think they didn't make too terribly many changes where things they need to reorganize and relearn, that they're going to come up higher than they maybe should. if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, kind of like this past split. They'll be very similar, but I'm hoping that they don't fall as far as they did.
Okay.
That
No.
was more than 4 sentences, but whatever.
That's fair. I tried to summarize. Number 5.
Team Freedom.
Okay. 3 sentences or less.
I believe Zug's staying shot caller. So Nasmus is swapping roles. Kind of. Yeah, he is going to be their melee player, so that's going to be an adjustment. Yoda is a strong personality, so changing, like, the team dynamic is going to change for them. And then we'll go with the 2 sentences. I think we'll go with the 2 sentences.
I said or less. We're good.
Yeah.
Number 6. We got LFM, Heroes Hearth, and Old Gods Remain.
My heart says something different than my head.
Oh.
But my head says Heroes Hearth is going to be 6th.
You said your head says that or your heart says that?
My head says Heroes Hearth is going to be 6th.
Because his boys are LFM. He loves his boys.
I have friends on both teams. So.
Yeah.
Okay. 3 sentences or less.
The experience of Crone, McIntyre, and Arthalon will help carry them through. Right. And Ishbu is... A lot of people say Ishbu is, like, untested, I guess. So we'll see how he does in HGC play.
All right.
Obviously, they're getting scrims against HGC teams, so... Like, he has to be proving something for them to keep going.
Fair.
Number
7
is LFM.
Okay.
Because I think they have not reached their ceiling, and the concept of you play up to your opponent or you play up to who you're playing with, you know. Like if you're a lower quality NFL team, you will play up to the level, at least closer to the level of your opponent. And I think that's what LFM will do.
Dropless, you know you're wrong for that one. And that leaves the Old Gods at number 8.
I mean, I kind of want to be wrong because I really like Zuna, but I think that's what's going to happen.
It's okay. Somebody's got to go there. Someone
has to be at the bottom. That's just the unfortunate reality, right?
Huh. Okay. So, by these rankings, your prediction is LFM and Old Gods in the Crucible. Maybe Buzz? Who do you feel is going to end up in the Crucible?
Oh, jeez. I'm going to agree.
Okay.
I'm going to agree. Unless GFE has, like, some, like, massive, like, fall off, which, like, is totally possible. I think Old Gods and LFM.
Okay. I don't know if I agree all the way down the chain, but I do understand the reasoning behind it. For me, and I'm curious, you guys in the chat, what two teams do you guys think are going to be in the Crucible? We'll read them off as they show up. For me personally, I've done a good amount of thinking on this. And I'm going to go with Old Gods and Team Freedom. Lock me in, Regis. Final answer. I don't think being a Honda Civic's going to be enough. I think you need a V8. I think you need leather seats. I just don't think being good is going to be good enough. And I think you're gonna have to stand out in some kind of way. and it's going to be up to Team Freedom to find their identity. Because if they don't, they're going to be battling it out in the best of 7, right there alongside old guys.
Droplet says thoughts on amateur scene. We'll find out when the open
next week
comes back
on HeroesHype Live.
Thoughts on the amateur scene? Alive and well. I'm curious.
Come back to us when HeroesHype Temple Storm series starts up again.
Same.
Depends, right? Does Coffin, Prismat, Tiger, Trees, do those guys make a team? Is EID making a team? Who is going to stick it out and go through the open division? That's the question, right?
Well, we've seen Battery with Oh My Science, so
well,
I don't know.
And he did not impress me on his Vala. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. We'll see what happens when the open division rolls around.
My early impression on the amateur scene is that there won't be a super team of the magnitude of what was Hold It Down. I don't think there are enough ex-HGC players to make me look at that and be like, wow, like they're going to walk their way through open division. So I think that's going to be very much up for debate. I think there's a lot of talent, but I don't think we're going to see another Hold It Down. I think there's going to be at least four really strong. You think why am I wrong? Tell me why I'm wrong, Droplets. I'm open to being wrong.
Well, yeah, there's no announcements. We don't know.
I mean, if there's
coming from,
if there's some super team out there, Iacona, Coffin, Prismat, Homicidal +1.
I'm sorry, lackluster. Like that may be savage, but that's a lackluster team for me.
I'm not saying it's bad, but
they would need a tank, and there's a shortage of good tanks.
Can you truly, Chromage? And again, not a personal knock on any of these players, but can you personally tell me you look at those 4, you add all 4 of them together, and you think of your emotional reaction to that roster being confirmed, and compare that to finding out, wait, there's a team that's got McIntyre, Arthelon, and Crowan? I'm sorry, but I just don't see it. They might do well, but for me, there isn't that initial shock and concern for the rest of the open division. Like, when Hold It Down's roster came out, I was like, good googly moogly. The teams they go up against, they're going to have it rough. When you put those 4 teams together, I'm like, they'll be good. But you put them up against some of the open division teams that we saw put up strong performances. I don't know. I think it would be closer. I don't think they'd have an easy walk. I'll put it that way. They probably make it to the Crucible, but it's not going to be the same dominant, like, preordained thing. Like, hold it.
Oh yeah.
I'll put it this way. If those 4 players and a tank of your choice that's still available in open division, if they go in as Team X, no sponsors picking them up while they're still in the open division, and you can solve for X on why that is. Hold It Down got picked up in the open division. I don't think there's a lineup out there going into 2018 that's going to be able to say the same thing. Not with the same panache or certainty. I'll put it like that.
Plus, I'm also just going to throw this in here. Like, Hold It Down also has 2 streamers, or HeroesHype has 2 big time streamers, and Crone and Mac, that they make themselves
marketable.
Marketable. They're alluring to a team. Do Kona, Coffin, or Prismat stream?
Prismat has been consistent.
That's good.
Last couple weeks, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome because that helps.
He's a
right?
good player. He's a good player.
Yeah. But yeah,
I
just throwing that out there.
I think if Dre Sheet they didn't move to North America, he'd probably be right in there.
Yeah.
But he did.
To echo what May was saying, is a PSA to any team that is unsponsored. Please stream more. You will get noticed.
Social media
brand
more.
yourself. Yes.
Brand yourself. Accord yourself as if you were a professional athlete or just a professional in general, because it matters to teams. Whether they think that you're an adult enough to sign a contract and do things that you're supposed to do. That's important because nobody wants to be the player that the reputation goes around that their mom has to wake them up for scrims every day. That doesn't help you in the team search arena.
Effort like that goes a long way. It really stacks up. I'm really glad to hear. I haven't had a chance to check out his stream personally, but I'm really glad to hear that he's putting in that effort. I think good things will come for him because, and anyone else who puts in that kind of time and energy. But we have now hit an hour and 53 minutes. We've run long. It's been a very rich and intriguing discussion. Again, our viewer numbers keep going up each week. And it's really cool to get you guys involved, participating in the conversations. It truly does mean a lot to us. HeroesHype Live aims to be the water cooler for the Heroes community, to talk about the goings-on in both the game, the competitive scene, and the amateur scene. We want to hear you guys' thoughts, so please continue to show up. We've locked in recently Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern as a time to show up here live. We have an iTunes account now where we upload these episodes and things like that. They go on our YouTube channel over at the HeroesHype page on YouTube as well. Please continue to show up and get involved. We love to hear your opinions and thoughts. Add you into the conversation. But for now, this has been another fun, intriguing, and exciting episode. I got to be savage.
Savage.
How often? Because I feel like I'm always the nice guy, and that's just that's who I am.
You're a nice guy. Yeah.
I was definitely the nice guy today.
But I got to be objective. I don't think I was mean. I don't think I was I just got to speak my mind.
Not BM if it's true.
Yeah, I wasn't. There was no BM behind it. Someone on the receiving end might come away feeling some kind of way about it, but I was just trying to be objective and frank, because I feel like that's what needed to happen. If anything, I want the old guys to hear what we had to say and specifically prove me wrong. I would be first to be like, hey, I thought this going in. They put in the work. They showed up. They shut me up.
And you can't be mad at that. You're only happy.
No, you're only happy for that.
It makes showing up and watching every weekend all the more exciting, because I don't want to watch any team go up and just get dumpstered from beginning to end. No, but it's not fun. I like when it's unpredictable and exciting.
Same.
My new name, Frank. We'll see. But another fun episode in the books. Follow us on HeroesHype. Follow the channel. Get involved Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. My name's Lauren, joined by the ever effervescent Maybe Buzz. And they just don't make them like this guy argue anymore. Good old fashioned argue out here, joining us, dropping the knowledge bombs, giving us the power rankings.
It's supposed to be a drink.
What is that?
I don't know what it was. But he did it. He certainly did it. But that's going to wrap it up for us. Thanks so much to you guys, the community, without which this would not be possible. Hope to see you again next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to tweet questions to the HeroesHype channel. Any questions or things you want to bring up and have us talk about, and what you want to join in for discussion next week. Happy to hear feedback and suggestions on that front. But for now, we're going to call it a night. Thank you guys so much. Until next time.